Hello and welcome. My name is Tyrion Lannister. Now, today I want to discuss the recent update that we got to the Game of Thrones Winter is Coming game. Essentially, this update was a pretty big one. It had a lot that it added. Most namely, I think, was the addition of the Night King Commander, as well as the awakening of Tyrion Lannister. But I'll get to both of those in a moment. So first things first, obviously they added the Night King and they awakened Tyrion. I'll show those, but I also just wanted to show that they also made some changes to Glorious Battle that I just wanted to kind of show on this. I think these are really interesting and worth talking about. So, effectively, they've announced that they are going to be changing some of the rules a little bit, and they do kind of list a few of those changes, but I think there may be changes even beyond that. So just to be aware of. So it's essentially they're taking down the rules button and they'll add that back in once we're kind of at that point where we can see the rules again because they've changed them. But they did say they're going to add a peace period during the battle phase. My assumption will be that that will be surrounding like AC, or I think it'll probably be UC at the time, days, which I think makes a lot of sense. It feels annoying to have battles going on while you're doing Ultimate Conquest. Feels not really fair for that alliance to have to make that choice between doing Glorious Battle or UC. Feels like you should be able to do both, and it really meant that you couldn't. They also seem like they said they're reducing the overall battle losses. This was a major complaint people had. I'm so glad they're doing this. It's probably going to just involve them kind of upping or really lowering the casualty rate even more, just because like people were having so many troops in their hospital that it costs so much to keep healing them and then sending them back out. It was just really not sustainable. So I'm glad they made this change. I know that a lot of people had that worry, and I loved Glorious Battle with that exception. So I'm hopeful to see that this is a good change. They also said that they've basically added some adjustments to limit actions that can be done against your own faction. I know this was a common complaint. I know that I don't know exactly what it is going to be that they're going to implement, but I'm so glad they're taking this into account. It's just really frustrating that there were oftentimes, kind of sometimes accidental, maybe sometimes intentional, that people would really kind of mess with things going on in your faction. And I'm glad they're making that change. And then they said they're reducing the amount of the amount of supplies that are captured, that are used when you deploy from a fortress. That's one of the primary ways I think that people would kind of accidentally work against the faction. So I'm glad they're changing that as well. It'll allow people to do much more strategy and send from the fortresses a lot more with their strong leads. So that's it for the kind of text of the update. Now let's talk about the new commander and Tyrion awakening and all that. And I'll start by going to this King of Eternal Winter event that they did. So essentially what they've done here is you can kind of add in customizable one of any of these four things that you want to add to it. I think that for the most part, the diamonds would definitely be something I would add to it. And then I honestly think the A medals are probably pretty good. Let me explain really quickly. It's really easy in my mind to get S medals. I find it harder to get the A medals, and as someone that hasn't maxed my A commanders, I would probably want the 30 A medals, and I know that I'll get the S medals and I'll be able to max my S commanders eventually too, but the A ones are kind of hard to come by for me. I probably would still do the S medals just because they're so valuable and I really do need them. For my fourth one, I don't know. I think that maybe I would go with the friendship chest, just because you kind of always are going to need more friendship, but I could be convinced of doing like Book of Wisdom or the S troop medals. Kind of torn. It'd be kind of up to you. I'll just do the S troops for now. I'm not going to actually end up buying this pack because it's too expensive for me, but that's basically all you would do, and then you could buy as many packs as you wanted. If you wanted to change it from here, you could. If I was like, alright, I don't want any more S medals, I want Marks of the Dragon now, or I want Friendship Chest now, then you confirm it, then you'd buy those packs. You'll notice they are only allowing you to buy up to 60 of those packs. That means you can effectively buy 360 of the Night King medals through this mechanism, through Black Diamonds. By the way, that would be 60,000 60,000 Black Diamonds they're spending on it. So it depends how much you're willing to coin in this game. But that would be 360 Night King medals, which would be enough to get him all the way to Legendary. Now, they also have these challenge quests that you can do. As you can see, I've already completed them. You have to recharge 50 black diamonds, spend 10,000 diamonds, and then log in for 3 days. Once you do that, you get enough to unlock the Night King. I wanted to wait to have completed all of these so that I could show you the Night King. But basically, to explain that, you get 5 from this, and then there was a way to get 5 medals during the actual Night King invasion event. Once you had to kill rebel groups, one time you had to kill rebel camps, but essentially if you did those and you did these, you have enough to get the Night King basically for free. So let me go, actually just promoted him, there we go. Oh, I don't want the dragon, sorry. Let's go to commanders, and we'll go all the way down to the Night King. Sweet, and I'll go ahead and upgrade him again right now. Sure, why not? Okay, so Night King. Let's talk about what he brings to the table. So first of all, he's cavalry, and he's an area attack commander. Got decent attack, but probably not going to replace any of the other ones in your actual formations just yet. So his specializations, I think I reviewed this before, but he's giving insane total attack reduction stats, like a total of 70% between the two, and then also doing the enemy casualty rate up to 10%, which is bonkers. I was really glad to see that when he gets awakened, the stats that he gives are just going to be total stats, and in fact, it's actually not crazy total stats. It's you're just getting 1.2% from each of them, which is basically what all the other ones are. They didn't kind of do anything too busted with it or crazy, so you just get total defense, total health, and total attack. You don't get increases to the casualty rate or the total attack reduction. Now, this is kind of standard, all the other things that they get, but his final kind of tier 4 passive that he gets if you get him 4-star, which, by the way, I should mention that the conversion rate for him is actually, oh, they're not letting me see it, but basically what I'm aware of is that for every 1 Night King token you have, you can convert that to 2 of the Night King Awakening tokens. So it's actually you get more of the Awakening tokens for having the Commander tokens. But anyway, once you get them to tier 4, you unlock that ability, and I want to really quickly read it. Basically, when any of the allied lineups suffer losses of more than 20%, then your Night King will summon White Walkers to participate in the battle with numbers of 90% of the troops that you've lost from that lineup. Also, that lineup gains 20% attack. So, taking a moment to think about that, what this means is that, let's say you have 100,000 troops, which probably most people have a bigger army size than that, but that'll just keep the numbers simple. So then let's say you lose 20% of those troops. So that would take you down to 80,000, and you've lost 20,000. So what would happen then is that the Night King would then basically send in reinforcements in the form of 90% of those 20,000 troops. So that would be an additional 18,000 troops that would then come in and help out fight for the rest of the battle. Now, what this means is basically that you're reducing your casualty rate by a ton once you hit 20%. You're basically 90% of the troops, and it's not even just that the important thing to realize is that you're not going to get to keep those troops. So those troops that you lost, you still lost, but for battle purposes, you're getting them back, and they're going to able to do damage and continue to help. So it's kind of, in my mind, like a worse version of the reinforcement skill, because the nice thing about the reinforcement skill was that kind of was the buffer of troops that you would lose, would just be the reinforced troops, so you wouldn't have any actual losses. In this case, you're going to have losses of at least 20% of your troops, and then it's just kind of like beyond that. You may not have a lot of other losses because it may be that the White Walkers are kind of the tanking it for you. So I don't think it's actually the most broken ability in the world, but it definitely sounds very strong, and it's going to be pretty good. I also wanted to really quickly look at his guard skill, just because I think it's kind of unique and interesting. So first, kind of biggest one in my opinion, is this Fearless. It states that when 2 allied commanders are dead, it revives 1 random commander with 57% health, and it can only happen once per battle. But that seems pretty huge. I tried it a few times in Training Ground and it didn't go super crazy well, but I imagine that being very, very strong. So something just to be on the lookout for. Additionally, at the 8th second, it reduces the heal effect for all enemy units by 53%. So this seems like a pretty solid counter to Simon troops, because it's going to make it so that the healing basically works a lot less for the rest of battle, basically. He adds defense, and then also his main ability is just kind of a inline attack, and then it kind of bleeds them for a little bit for the next few seconds. I think it says 30 seconds total. So it's a solid ability. Don't get me wrong, it is good, but I think that for my purposes, with him being gray, probably not going to be able to use him in my formations. But definitely for this whole revive an allied commander, maybe this is going to be a new meta where people don't use healers and they go full damage with the Night King and say, oh, yeah, I may lose a couple of my guys early, but I'll get one of them back, and I trust that I'll have done enough damage and he'll stop their healing, that it's worth it to just keep going. I don't think that the Night King makes sense in a healing formation, because then you have other healers. Like, you're not really hoping that your commanders die anyway. So that's my take on it. Could be wrong, I don't know, but that's what I expect the meta to kind of turn into with him. Okay, so that's kind of the Night King. Let's quickly just talk about Tyrion Lannister for a second. So, Tyrion Lannister has the reverse ratio, where you need 2 of his original medals to make 1 of the awakening medals, and that's the only way you can achieve Tyrion medals. So I want to be clear that it takes a lot of Tyrion medals to actually awaken him to any high level. I currently have enough that I could get him to, I think I can get him to 1 star, but not to 2. Again, if you think about, the first upgrade is 40, so you needed 80 extra Tyrion medals. The second upgrade is another 80, so that would be 106. Wow, it said 80 first. It's the first one that you need to do. 40, yeah, is 80, so that would be 160 plus 80, so 240 total spare Tyrion medals going into this awakening process, which I did not have on me. But if someone does, then great, then they can get him to 2 star. But I also just don't know that I think it's terribly worth it. Just to understand how many stats he's going to give, he is giving a total of 12 of the 1.2% total attack slots, which is the equivalent to what Arya gives. So just if we do some quick math, this would be 12% and then another 2.4%, so 14.4% total attack. And then if we go check out Arya, when she is full, Arya gives, look at that, 14.4% total attack. Now, Tyrion does give the total health and total defense as well, and that's going to be a little bit higher. So I'll give it that. But the fact that it's so hard to get him to 2 or 3 star makes me a little surprised that they didn't give more actual stats with it. It's just, he's definitely a lot weaker than, or no, I shouldn't say weaker, but he is definitely not as strong as some of the other commanders. I mean, if you look at Seg is definitely much stronger than him. And Seg is so much easier to get the commander medals for, but you're getting 19.3% total attack with Seg. That's just not even comparable. It's like 5% more, when it's way easier to get Seg leveled up because it's just the elite tokens versus Tyrion needing his own special ones. So, like I said, I was a little surprised that wasn't a stronger buff, but maybe that'll change. Who knows? So Tyrion's Tier 4 Awakening state that 20 seconds after the battle begins, when allied troops deal counter damage, there's a 50% chance of rerouting enemy troops, of up to 20% of the enemy troops, away from the battlefield. That's huge. So I do think that ability is pretty crazy. Basically, after 20 seconds of battle, the second you're doing any countering damage, which I'm pretty sure is just whenever, cavalry hits infantry or spears hit cavalry or infantry hit spears, that's a counter. Whenever you get that to happen, then you get a 50% chance of rerouting 20% of the enemy troops away. I feel like that seems really strong. Like, getting a 20% reroute is huge. That's I mean, the max dragon reroute is 15%. So having that and Tyrion doing that, you're going to reroute away 35% of the enemy troops. I think that seems like a ton, and I'm shocked that they did that much. But again, I think that part of it's that getting tier 4 or 4-star or whatever Tyrion Lannister is going to take forever and be really, really hard. So I guess if you can get him to that point, then it's probably worth it. But other than that, I don't know that it's worth awakening him that far, just because there are other much cheaper commanders to do it on that aren't as grindable, that aren't as grind heavy, I should say, really. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this breakdown of kind of the new update that we've gotten with the Night King, with Tyrion Lannister, and with the changes to Glorious Battle. I'm really looking forward to all of these changes. Hope that you are too. And until next time, my name is Tyrion Lannister. I'll see you then.